Like I mentioned a few weeks ago, as you come to the end of your time in a place, it's common to start thinking of, the good times, to think back on those good moments, give thanks for those good moments. I compared it a few weeks ago to like a greatest hits CD, 50 CDs and 10,000 songs. It's one of those sorts of things. And like I mentioned a few weeks ago, as I look back on my time here, I think of my greatest, it's not like, okay, let's be modest, they weren't that great, but like my greatest hits, like what are those things that I would most want to impress upon you? What are those things I would most want you to take away from what I've said over the years? One way that I've done this and shared my thoughts and stuff over the years, and many of you have commented on this mostly snarkily, like, Father, do you do anything else besides watch movies? But it's true, I use a lot of movies to stir the imagination, to help us to think and to imagine what's really going on. And the reason I do that is because nobody reads books no more. And so I used to reference books, and everyone was just like, yeah, right, I know what you're talking about, Father. I have no idea what you're talking about. So I had to start using movies. So movies are the way that we share our greatest stories now. That's again, like it or not, that's what happens. Movies are now how we share our great stories, the great thoughts, the great culture that we want to communicate. And so I want to go back to one of those movies in particular today in particular, as we celebrate Corpus Christi Sunday, the solemnity dedicated to the Eucharist, right? This Eucharistic mystery that we celebrate each and every single Sunday. Because this is the thing, where are we? I know we're in Lions, I'm not crazy yet. But where are we here? What's really happening here? We know that we're obliged, we have to go to Mass each and every single Sunday. Good job, Catholics, A+, you made it today, you're doing good. But the real question is, and people ask this often, well, can I just do whatever makes me feel close to God? Taking a hike in the mountains, going fishing, it's great. Why can't I just sit at home and drink a cup of coffee and read the Bible? These are all beautiful ways to spend time with God. Nothing against them at all. But then the question is, but why do we have to come to the Mass? Why is this such a big deal? And on top of that, why can't we just go to any church? There's many great churches here in Lyons. I know the pastors in town, great people, great insights into Scripture, great things to say. But why is this church in particular, the Catholic Church, why is this something that we hold on to so dearly? We all know people that have kind of shopped around, They look for the best preacher, they look for the best donuts, they look for the best children's program, whatever it is, best music. They all look around for what's best, what they like the best. Again, okay. But why does it break my heart every single time that happens and people leave the Catholic Church? The simple answer is because at the Mass, there's the single greatest mystery that happens in the entire universe, the single greatest thing that ever happens anywhere. It happens right here. And I mean that very literally. But then that's back to the question, well then where are we really and what's really happening? The movie that very much helped me to reimagine and to just dig a little bit deeper into this great mystery that we celebrate, believe it or not, and I've already said this, you should know it, the movie that's very much helped me is the movie Saving Private Ryan. The classic World War II film, very gory at the start, watch out, but the very powerful movie about World War II. The premise of the movie is that Private Ryan has three brothers, and as World War II gets going, as D-Day happens, we discover that his three brothers have all been killed in combat. And the War Department also figures this out, and not wanting to leave their mother stranded on the farm alone with no sons, they decide to rescue and find Private Ryan and to send him home. And so they gather this ragtag group of kids, of soldiers, and they send them off to save Private Ryan. Spoiler alert, they do. Okay, sorry. Again, this movie's like 30 years old. You've had your chance. They find him, they save him. But there at the end, there's this final battle, and we come to the character of Captain Miller. The movie's pretty much about Captain Miller. Private Ryan's kind of like a side story, really. But Captain Miller, Tom Hanks' character, is we discovered throughout the movie, is a man of great integrity, a great man of great honor. He's actually a teacher back at home, a rabbi, right? He's a teacher back at home. But here he is at the end, wounds sustained in battle, dying in battle, and he pulls Private Ryan close to him, and he says, "James, earn this. Earn it." In other words, what we have just done for you, this group of soldiers, many of whom have died, me, myself, dying, don't let this go to waste. We all came out here to save you. Earn it. And then the movie immediately fades to decades later, and Private Ryan is standing there in Normandy, at the grave there in Normandy, at the grave of Captain Miller, this man that had rescued him, this man that had given his life, a friend who had laid down his life so that he could live, so that he could be standing there with his wife, with his children, with his grandchildren. And what we discover, as it fades to that scene decades later, is we discover this entire movie was really just a flashback. Spoiler. Right? The movie was just a big flashback playing in the memory of Private Ryan, him remembering what had happened so that he could be there that day. He's standing there, and he's not bored. He's not like checking his watch. He's not like, honey, can we leave yet? This is so boring. He's not doing that. No, he's standing there in profound just awe at the grave of his friend, the one who rescued the one that died so that he might live. And as he's standing there, he says this, every day, I'm talking to Captain Miller in his grave, every day I think about what you said to me that day on the bridge, and I've tried to live my life the best that I can. In other words, I've tried to respond to this sacrifice that you and the other men made for me, to live my life in a way worthy of you all giving your life for me, to respond to that sacrifice you made, to earn it, right? Again, it's a very, very powerful scene. Sorry to spoil it, but you can go watch it. But it's powerful because we get to see in real life, in a movie, what it looks like when someone is responding to someone who gave their life for them. If something like that happened to us, I hope we're not cold enough to be like, who cares, you're dead, man, see ya. No, we'd be more like, oh my God, I have to live my life in a different way because of what you've done. Okay, as moving as that movie is, and as powerful as it gets our imagination moving, and it does, hopefully, what's happening here at the Mass is more moving, it's more dramatic, and it's more powerful. And it has the capacity to truly change our lives if we only had the eyes to see what's really going on. Because in Saving Private Ryan is a flashback, right? It's just a memory. Private Ryan is just remembering what happened. But at the Mass, it's more than just us remembering. We do more than just remember this Jesus guy, more than just remember a sacrifice that he made for us. It's so much more than that. The thing is, though, tragically, heartbreakingly, most Catholics don't even know that. Most Christians don't even know that. Most people just assume, this is just the Catholic version of what you do on Sunday at church. Right? Sing some churchy songs, say some churchy things, read some readings from the Bible, preacher man gets up, hope he doesn't talk too long, come on, Father, say something funny, let's get out of here, hope there's donuts afterwards, eat some crackers and juice, let's go. Right? It's just the Catholic version of church on Sunday. That's what a lot of people assume is going on here. Okay, that's not. And the thing is, it's right in front of our face every single Sunday. What's going on is right in front of our face. It's just that we don't know Greek, so we don't know what's going on. Right? There's one word that happens every single Sunday that should clue us in and remind us what's happening here. And it's every single Sunday we hear it. We're told, do this in A+ Catholics. Gosh, I knew you guys always know the answers. Right? Do this in memory of me. We heard in our second reading, do this in remembrance of me. Same word. Okay. What's going on? Why is that word? Again, whenever you hear the word memory memorial at Mass, you should be like, oh my goodness. Why? In the logic of the Old Testament, in the Old Testament, there's an event that is at the center of the Old Testament. Everything's pointing towards it. Everything's looking back at it. And that event, obviously, is the rescue of the Israelites from slavery in Egypt, the Exodus, right? Very famous. Charlton Heston, thank you. Right, 430 years of slavery. It's another movie reference. I don't know if you got, okay. It's 430 years of slavery there in Egypt, and they are dramatically rescued by God from slavery. Beautiful. To that event, God connects a meal, a sacred meal called, A+, never doubt yourselves ever. You guys know all the answers. Passover. The Passover meal is connected to that event. But why is that such a big deal? It's because throughout the rest of the story of Scripture, and even to this day, our Jewish brothers and sisters, when they celebrate that meal, their belief is that that event becomes present once again. The Exodus says it this way, this day shall be for you a memorial day. In the Psalms it says the Lord has established a memorial for himself. The Greek word there, again I hate English, the Greek word there is anamnesis. And anamnesis doesn't just mean remember or memory or, a flashback. The word anamnesis means the thing that you remember and are celebrating, it actually becomes present. There's a different word for remember and memory sort of thing. But anamnesis means like this event you remember becomes present once again. If you go to a Jewish Passover meal to this day, the father of the family, when he's doing the prayers of the Passover meal, he'll say, when I came out of Egypt, to which all the children and all the people in the house should go, that was 4,000 years ago. You didn't come out of Egypt. But no, what is he saying? He's saying, by partaking in this Passover meal, I do participate in that event. That event becomes present and I can participate in it. That's just the logic of the Old Testament. This is not Father Michael's opinion. This is just how the Old Testament works. Okay, the New Testament, same logic. Jesus takes the exact same logic. What's the event at the center of the New Testament? Jesus. Never doubt yourselves. You got this. You're crushing it, okay? Jesus, his death and resurrection is the central event of the New Testament. And uncoincidentally, at Passover, a meal is connected by that event, by Jesus to that event. The Last Supper, Jesus says, this meal is going to be something for you. To that event of Jesus, this meal is connected. And very famously, at that meal, Jesus says, do this in memory of me. You want to guess the Greek word? It's anamnesis. Good job, you know. Okay. No, same exact concept. In other words, when we celebrate this meal, this is not just like, again, Catholics remembering the Last Supper. This is not just us remembering how great Jesus is. As we memorialize him in this meal, the event of Christ becomes present. Jesus Christ himself becomes present. We didn't make that up. This is what God has been doing for thousands and thousands of years through a memorial. That's where we are. We're at Calvary. That's what's going on here. Christ is being made present. Like I said, though, tragically, most Catholics don't really know what I just said. We've never learned it. We've never clued in on that. Or we just think, yeah, this is just Catholic version of church on Sunday. But no, at the Mass, Calvary becomes present. Time and space are like bended. And all of a sudden, Calvary is present here today in Lions America in 2025. Here today in just moments, we become contemporaries of the cross and the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, him laying down our lives for us. So then think back to the movie, Saving Private Ryan. When that happens to Ryan, he's overwhelmed. When he goes back to the grave of Captain Miller, he continues to be overwhelmed. He says, I have to live my entire life as a response to this sacrifice that you've made. But just think, this is just him remembering it. It's just a flashback. For us, it's different, but it's the same question. What is our response going to be to this? What is our response? Hear us present at Calvary on the bridge, so to speak, as the Lord looks at us and he says, earn it, but not like earn it, but like respond to this. As the Lord looks at us, like what is our response going to be? I've been where you've been, sitting in the pews. I've been to some boring masses. You ever been to a boring mass? You ever been to a mass where you're just kind of like this? Oh, gosh. We've all been there. I appreciate you never checking your watches while I've been here. Thanks, appreciate that. But like, we've all been to a time where we're just at mass and we're just like, oh, man, this is so long. I want to go back to bed. We've all been there. And yet, what if, like I said, what if we had the eyes to see what's truly going on? What if we actually remembered, called to mind, and remembered this sacrifice that's being made for us, this rescue that we're going through, him dying so that we might live? It just changes everything, and it changes how we even approach the Mass. We know it's the rule. You got to go to Mass every Sunday, but why? Early on, that wasn't the rule. Early on, the Christians, you just couldn't keep them from going to the Eucharist every single Sunday. We have beautiful accounts of the earliest Christians, like during the reign of Diocletian. This would be about the year 300. Diocletian, he had incredibly severe consequences for any Christian that gathered to celebrate the Eucharist. Death was the consequence. And yet they continued to go. There were the martyrs of Abytine, that'd be northern Africa. There was 49 of them. The Romans kept great records. We can read all this stuff. But at their trial, after they'd been captured for going to the Sunday Eucharist, which was illegal, they were asked, why do you do this? Just stop. And they said, We cannot not go. We must go to the Eucharist each and every Sunday. And they're like, why? And they go, we cannot live without the Eucharist. Even through torture, even when being put to death, they wouldn't recount on that testimony on living that way. Okay, as I come to the close of my time here, this would be one of my hopefully greatest hits, is just my emphasis, not on the rule of you have to go to Mass on Sundays, but the emphasis on this is why we come to the Mass on Sundays. This is why we, again, it's like Private Ryan going to the grave of his friend. He didn't go there just like, I guess I have to come here to see my friend that died for me. No, we come because this is why we live. This is why we are alive. Here, present is the sacrifice that has saved our lives and that continues to save our lives. We don't come because Father Michael's here. We don't come because there's donuts after Mass. There's donuts today, though. There's not because there's donuts after Mass. We don't come because of those things. We come because what is being celebrated here, memorialized here, is Christ himself. And like those earliest Christians, my hope would be that we just respond to that always and say, I can't live without that. I can't just, skip Mass because, I was tired. I have to go because that's the one who has saved my life. This is the one who laid down his life for me. And there at the Mass, he's present once again.